Hi. With many people staying at home, people wonder what we're doing while we're at home. And I want to show you some projects that I've been working on. So let's take a look. Alright, I've been working on a 1944 Willys MB Jeep that I purchased last year up in upstate New York. I started from the ground up, starting with the tires. I bought new tires and restored some combat rims that I have. These are original rims. Also, I started with the brakes all the way around, new brakes, new brake pads and cylinders, new brake lines, also some new springs that I put on. And the springs in the back were okay, so I didn't replace those, just painted them. Worked on the axles, rebuilt the knuckles, and replaced the drive shaft in the front because it wasn't correct. Also the drag link and the tie rods and the belt crank. One of the hardest things I did was replace these gussets on the front because they were shot and needed to be replaced. That means a lot of welding that I did. Also replaced the bumper. Inside, I replaced the master cylinder and also rebuilt the steering column. This is the driver's side fender, which I welded and put a new bracket in it and also primed it. Next thing I'll be doing is painting it green. This is the before picture of the passenger side, and you can see that that needs some work, but it's in pretty good condition. So here's the Jeep. I've taken off the back. I'm going to replace the back end. I've got new seats for it. I'm going to be working on the dash. I've replaced did some welding on the side to replace the shovel and axe bracket here, and also worked on the steering wheel. Also, right now I'm working on the engine. I adjusted the valves. The engine does run. It runs pretty good, as a matter of fact. Adjusted the valves. I'm working on the manifold in the garage right now. Once I get that done, I'm going to start painting it green. I'm going to convert it to 6 volts. And everything else looks pretty good in it. The radiator is great, doesn't leak. Just going to clean it out, paint it, and put it back on. Work on the front grille, the lights. Got new lights for it already. Rear lights. And a lot of the work I'm going to be doing is body work because it was banged up pretty good. Though there's very little rust, I do have to do some welding on it to fill in some holes that don't belong there. Also, the boxes, the tool boxes in the back were in pretty bad condition, so I have to cut out the inside and replace that. And so that's this project, and maybe I'll be working on it for another year or so. Let's look at some previous projects that I did. And the first one I'll start with is my original Jeep, which is this one right here. It's a 1942 Ford GPW, which I bought in 2009 in upstate New York, and rebuilt it over 3 years. Came out great. It's mostly original, some reproduction parts, but they're all top quality. The radio does work. I had it rebuilt and by an expert, so it does work. And let's take a look around that one. The unit is the 2nd Armored Division 702nd Tank Destroyers. I've been driving it since I finished it and really enjoying it. Also, I have another Jeep back here. This I call Bob's Jeep because it used to belong to my friend Bob. Bob passed away. Really miss him. And I bought this Jeep from his widow. It's a 1942 Ford GPW as well. It's in very good condition. Runs and drives great. He really took care of it. He was a mechanic, so he did a great job with that. I'm really glad to have it because it really reminds me of him. The other thing I have here is a 1945 Bantam trailer. It's a military trailer. When I bought it, it was painted like an aqua blue, but it was in great condition. All I had to do was really strip it down and replace some of the parts like the electrical system and put a lunette on it. That right there is an incorrect lunette. It's a lunette for a M100, but I got it for free, so I'm using it. If I come across another one, maybe the correct one, I'll put it on. It's got the combat tires and everything else. Alright, so that's my projects. As you can see, I've been having a great time. It's been cold. I have to work outside. My garage is just too small to do all this work in it. So most of my work is done outside, so I have to wait for good weather. So let's pray for good weather. And I'll leave you with a phrase used by Winston Churchill in World War II during the darkest days. He used to say KBO, which stands for keep buggering on. And that was one of his favorite phrases. So you, KBO, keep buggering on, and over and out.